Hello, welcome to Masala Lab by XOtoXO Games. This is the how to play video for Sadhya, the second and longest game out of 3 that you can play in Masala Lab. This can be played only with a standard box. Before you watch this video, make sure you're familiar with the rules of game 1, Tiffin, because you are going to need all those rules to play this game as well. And we will stick to only what else you need to know to play Sadhya in this video. Masala Lab is based on the book Masala Lab by Krish Ashok. The book has a lot of food science, but the games primarily focus on preparation and cooking of food, and more specifically, prepping building blocks of food that can be stored and cooked into a variety of dishes. Sadhya means feast in Malayalam, and Sadhyas are commonly served on banana leaves. In this game, you will take the prep you made in game 1, Tiffin, and add additional ingredients from your pantry to it to make dishes that you can serve on your banana leaf. For this game, you will need everything in the Masala Lab box, including the lid, 3 decks of cards labeled prep, item, and dish, 1 banana leaf board per player, 5 playing counters, 1 color per player. This is a prototype. There might be some changes in the design of the game you receive, but the gameplay will be the same. This is a game for 2 to 4 players. It will take 45 to 60 minutes to play. The rules are the same for any number of players. Take the number of banana leaf boards and cards accordingly. Each player takes a banana leaf board and places it banana leaf side up. Place 4 tokens of your chosen color on the 4 spots marked start on the pantry side of the board. Flip the box lid upside down. You'll see a score track. Place 1 counter from each player on start. You will track your score here. Deal 3 item cards to each player. Lay out the item and prep cards exactly like in game 1, Tiffin. For deck 3, dish cards, do the following. Discard the blanks, shuffle the deck well. Now split it into 4 equal stacks and place them next to each other like this, beige side facing up. Now from each stack, remove the top 2 cards and place them in 2 rows below the stacks like this. You can pick up dishes from these bottom 2 rows, and the stacks on top are used to fill the vacant spaces whenever a dish is picked up by a player. A quick look at the banana board, you will see you can place your reserved prep cards below the board and completed prep cards above it. It also has 4 slots to place dish cards. And on the right, you will have a pantry with ingredients which you must access with the 4 counters. Just like in game 1, Tiffin, the objective is to win by scoring the highest points. The game ends when the first person reaches 40 on the score track. Check for bonuses and penalties when the game ends, and the highest scorer will win. You score points from prep cards just like in game 1, Tiffin, but the major part of playing and scoring happens with dish cards in this game, which are from deck 3. Let's discuss these cards in detail and also see how to collect them. You collect dishes in order to serve them on your banana leaf and to score points. The dish card has a number on the top left, and this is the points you score when you serve this dish. The icons you see below the number are what you need to cook and serve this dish. This card looks like a thali or plate with compartments. The topmost icon is inside a square container, and you can notice that this will always match one of the pictures which are on the prep cards. It means that you need to have completed a prep in order to pick this card. There's a tiny number under this icon which tells you the total number of dishes that can be cooked using that prep. So for example, if you have just 1 of this prep, chutney, you can potentially pick up 4 dishes with it. To pick up prep cards, you need to do it exactly like Game 1 Tiffin by collecting item cards for it, as per the recipe on the prep card. The icons, which may be 1 to 4 in the round compartments, will match the icons of ingredients on the pantry of your board. You need to access those ingredients in order to be eligible to pick this card. You'll also see some Tetris-like icons at the bottom of the card. You need them only for Game 3, Desert, and you can ignore them completely for this game. In summary, dish equals prep plus pantry. You can pick it up only if you have all of them. You cannot reserve a dish like you did with the prep cards. In Game 1, you only had 2 choices on what you can do on your turn. Either pick up 1, 2, or 3 item cards or 1 prep card. In this game, you have one more choice. For easy reference, what you can do on your turn is written on your banana leaf board. The third choice of action is to access your pantry with the counters. You have to move your counter to an ingredient in order to access it. You have 2 movements you can do per turn. It means you can either move 1 counter twice or 2 counters once. If you move your counters on your turn, you cannot pick up item or prep cards on that turn. Let's see how to access your pantry in a bit more detail, as it is a key part of the game. You have 4 counters, but 5 columns of pantry ingredients. You must always start any column at the top with its first ingredient. For example, at the start of the game, you can use your 2 moves to do vegetable, meat, or you can do 1 on vegetable and 1 on flour. In both cases, you're starting at the top of the columns. In subsequent moves, you can move down the column following the 2 moves per turn rule. Once you have moved your counter to a particular ingredient, you have access to that ingredient and also all the ingredients above it. For example, when you're on ketchup, you also have access to fish, garnish, lentils, in addition to ketchup that you can use for dishes. So you need to put only 1 counter per column. You'll see there are 4 counters, but 5 columns. If you are occupying 4 columns with your counters and you need to access the 5th column, you have to give up 1 of the columns and move to the top of the new column. You have access to ingredients as long as your counter is on that column. But once you move away from it, those ingredients disappear from your pantry and you cannot use them for cooking dishes unless you access it again. Similarly, your prep cards can be used multiple times as long as you have completed them. Now, let's see how to pick up the dishes. Remember, once again, dish equals prep plus pantry. For this dish, I've already completed my prep, which is chutney. I've also moved my counters to the necessary ingredients in the pantry. Now, when it is my turn next, I can just directly pick this dish up. If I flip it over, I can place it on one of the slots in my banana leaf, and it looks like I've served the dish on the leaf. Replace the vacant slot of the dish with a new one from its respective stack. On your turn, you can pick up all the dishes you're eligible for as long as you satisfy prep plus pantry for it. You may end up picking 2 or 3 dishes at once. The stacks let you know what's coming next, so you can plan for it. There are only 4 slots on the board, but you can pick up more dishes. Just place them over each other on the banana leaf in the 4 slots. Remember, picking up a dish is not a turn action. So you can do one of your turn actions and then pick up an eligible dish, or pick up an eligible dish and then do your turn actions as suitable at the moment. When you score points, either by completing a prep, scoring a bonus, remember it from game 1, or by serving a dish, you need to immediately remove your counter along the score track. Keep playing in this fashion, taking turns to do any one of the 3 actions until one person reaches 40 points on the score track. If any player has a pending turn, they may complete it now. Now check for any penalties of incomplete prep, and the highest remaining score will be the winner. If you're a bit of a board game veteran, or you've already tried these rules for a few games, here are some additional rules that you can add one by one or all of them to the game to make it slightly more interesting or efficient. 1. At the start of the game, when you're dealt 3 item cards, you can exchange one or more of them blindly from the face down stack of item cards. This is if you're worried the dealer was not fair to you. 2. You can do the same thing from game 1 of replacing one of the item cards if 3 of them are the same. 3. If you have an item card which has a pantry ingredient on it, you can discard it and use it instead of moving to the pantry with your counter. For example, if your item card has a potato on it, you can use it instead of moving your counter to potato. But remember, this potato is one-time use and it disappears as soon as the card is discarded. If you want to use this method again, you need another potato card, but counter on potato is permanent. 4. You can discard 2 similar item cards in your hand to score 1 point. This is not part of your turn actions. You can even do it at the end of the game to score a vital point or 2. 5. If you have a tie, first check for most number of dishes on the leaf to decide the winner. If there's a tie on this, check for the most number of 4-point preps. If even this is tied, share the victory. Check out games 1 and 3, which can also be played with the Masala Lab box.